Hey, welcome to the Read Aloud for October 7th, day 18. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Where were we? Oh yeah, they were in the trees. I forgot about that. Right. There was a picture that I don't know where it's supposed to go, but it's a pretty cool picture. All right, let's see. This was dreadful talk to listen to, not only because of the brave woodmen and their wives and children, but also because of the danger which now threatened Gandalf and his friends. The wargs were angry and puzzled at finding them here at their very meeting place. They thought they were friends of the woodmen and were come to spy on them, and would take news of their plans down into the valleys. And then the goblins and wolves would have to fight a terrible battle instead of capturing prisoners and devouring people wake suddenly from their sleep. So the wargs had no intention of going away and letting the people up the trees escape, at any rate not until morning. And long before that, they said, goblin soldiers would be coming down from the mountains, and goblins can climb trees or cut them down. Now, you can understand why Gandalf, listening, Coco is over there making a ton of noise. All right, sorry, they're back there drinking their water. Now, you can understand why Gandalf, listening to their growling and yelping, began to be dreadfully afraid. Wizard though he was, and to feel that they were in a very bad place, had not yet escaped at all. All the same, he was going to let them have it all their own way. He was not going to let them have it all their own way. Though he could not do very much, stuck up in a tall tree with wolves all around on the ground below. He gathered huge pine cones from the branches of his tree, and then he set one alight with bright blue fire and threw it whizzing down among the circle of wolves. It struck one on the back, and immediately his shaggy coat caught fire, and he was leaping to and fro, yelping horribly. And then another came, and another, one in blue flames, one in red, another in green. They burst on the ground in the middle of the circle and went off in colored sparks and smoke. A especially large one hit the chief wolf on the nose, and he leapt in the air 10 feet, and then rushed around the circle, biting and snapping even at other wolves in his anger and fright. The dwarves and Bilbo shouted and cheered. The rage of the wolves was terrible to see, and the commotion they made filled all the forest. Wolves are afraid of fire at all times, but this was a most horrible and uncanny fire. If a spark got into their coats, it stuck and burned into them, and unless they rolled over quickly, they were soon all in flames. Very soon, all about the glade were wolves rolling over and over to put out the sparks on their backs, while those that were burning were running around howling and setting others alight till their own friends chased them away, and they fled off down the slopes, crying and yammering and looking for water. "What is all of this uproar in the forest tonight?" said the Lord of the Eagles. He was sitting back in the black in the moonlight on top of a lonely pinnacle of rock at the eastern edge of the mountains. "I hear wolves' voices. Are the goblins at mischief in the woods?" He swept up into the air, and immediately 2 of his guards from the rock at either hand leapt up to follow him. They circled up in the sky and looked down upon the ring of wargs, a tiny spot far, far below. But eagles have keen eyes and can see small things at a great distance. The Lord of the Eagles of the Misty Mountains had eyes that could look at the sun unblinking. Then he could see a rabbit moving on the ground a mile below, even in the moonlight. So though he could not see the people in the trees, He could make out the commotion among the wolves and see the tiny flashes of fire and hear the yowling and yelping come up faint from far beneath him. Also, he could see the glint of the moon on goblin spears and helmets as long lines of the wicked folk crept down the hillside from their gate and wound into the wood. Eagles are not kindly birds. Some are cowardly and cruel, but the ancient race of the northern mountains were the greatest of all birds. They were proud and strong and noble-hearted. They did not love goblins or fear them, when they took any notice of them at all, which was seldom, for they did not eat such creatures. They swooped on them and drove them shrieking back to their caves and stopped whatever wickedness they were doing. The goblins hated the eagles and feared them, but could not reach their lofty seats or drive them from the mountains. Tonight, the Lord of the Eagles was filled with curiosity to know what was afoot. So he summoned many of his eagles to him, and they flew away from the mountains and slowly circled ever round and round. They came down, down, down towards the ring of wolves and the meeting place of goblins. Very good thing, too. Dreadful things had been going on down there. To wolves that had caught fire and fled into the forest had set it alight in several places. It was high summer on this eastern side of the mountains. There had been little rain for some time. Yellowing bracken, fallen branches, deep piled pine needles, and here and there dead trees were soon in flames. All around the clearing of the wargs fire was leaping. All round the clearing of the wargs fire was leaping. But the wolf guards did not leave the trees. Maddened and angry, they were leaping and howling around trunks and cursing the dwarves in their horrible language with their tongues hanging out and their eyes shining as red as fierce in the flames. Then suddenly goblins came running up yelling. They had thought a battle with the woodmen was going on, but soon they learned what had really happened. Some of them actually sat down and laughed. Others waved their spears and clashed shafts against their shields. Goblins are not afraid of fire, and they soon had a plan which seemed to them most amusing. Some got all the wolves together in a pack. Some stacked fern and brushwood round tree trunks. Others rushed round and stamped and beat and stamped until nearly all the flames were put out. But they did not put out the fire nearest to the trees where the dwarves were. That fire they fed with leaves and dead branches and bracken. Soon they had a ring of smoke and flame all around the dwarves, a ring which kept from spreading outwards, but it closed slowly in, till the running fire was licking the fuel piled under the trees. Smoke was in Bilbo's eyes. He could feel the heat of the flames, and through the reek he could see the goblins dancing round and round in a circle like people round a midsummer bonfire. Outside the ring of dancing warriors with spears and axes stood the wolves at a respectable distance, watching and waiting. He could hear the goblins beginning a horrible song. 15 birds in 5 burnt trees, their feathers were fanned in a fiery breeze. But funny little birds, they had no wings. Oh, what shall we do with the funny little things? Roast them alive or stew them in a pot? Fry them, boil them, eat them hot. And then they stopped and shouted, "Fly away, little birds, fly away if you can. Come down, little birds, or you will get roasted in your nest. Sing, sing, little birds, why don't you sing? Go away, little boys," shouted Gandalf in answer. "It isn't bird nesting time. Also, naughty little boys that play with fire get punished." He said it to make them angry and to show them he was not frightened of them, though of course he was, wizard though he was. But they took no notice, and they went on singing, "Burn, burn, tree and fern, shrivel and scorch a fizzling torch to light the night for our delight. Yeah, hey. Bake 'em, toast 'em, fry 'em, roast 'em, till beards blaze and eyes glaze, till hair smells and skin cracks, fat melts and bones black. And cinders lie beneath the sky, so dwarf shall die in the light for our delight. Hee-ha, yahari hey, yah-ho." And with that yahoy, the flames were under Gandalf's tree. In a moment it spread to the others. The bark caught fire and the lower branches cracked. Then Gandalf climbed to the top of his tree. The sudden splendor flashed from his wand like lightning as he got ready to spring down from on high right among the spears of the goblins. That would have been the end of him, though he would probably have killed many of them as he came hurtling down like a thunderbolt, but he never leapt. Just at that moment, the Lord of the Eagles swept down from above, seized him in his talons, and he was gone. It's a really cool picture. There was a howl of anger and surprise from the goblins. Loud, loud, cried the Lord of the Eagles, to whom Gandalf had now spoken. Back swept the great birds that were with him, and down they came like huge black shadows. The wolves yammered and gnashed their teeth, and the goblins yelled and stamped with rage, and flung their heavy spears in the air in vain. Over them swooped the eagles. The dark rush of their beating wings smote them to the floor or drove them far away. Their talons tore at the goblin faces. Other birds flew to the treetops and seized the dwarves, who were scrambling up now as far as they ever dared to go. Poor little Bilbo was nearly left behind again. He just managed to catch hold of Dory's legs as Dory was borne off last of all, and up they went together above the tumult and burning, Bilbo swinging in the air with his arms nearly breaking. All right, we're going to stop there. See you guys.